Hi, I'm Paul Brodie. Welcome to my shop. We have Mitch behind the cameras. And today we have a project. It's BULLMOOSE handlebars. I have a set of Ritchie BULLMOOSE handlebars here, and I've been thinking about making a pair of BULLMOOSE handlebars for quite a while now, maybe even a year or two. Just been in the back of my mind because it would be part of our YouTube library, showing people how to make stuff. And I've made a few pairs in my life. I've never had a fixture or anything. I think I mentioned it's a pair of Ritchie handlebars. These are probably made by Tom, and they're nicely made. It's all chromoly. This is 035, so I had to buy some. So thank you, Christopher, for helping out. Otherwise, you got to buy a whole length of 20 feet. That gets really expensive at 25 bucks a foot. That's how much it is now. It always used to be $8 a foot for years and years and years, and then I think COVID came along and maybe a few other years, and the price, it tripled. It's unfortunate you have to pay so much for chromoly. So I can't just have some tubing and hold things. I need something to hold. So I bought a plate. I'll call it a fixture plate. It's aluminum, 6061, 1/2 inch by 4. It's 26 inches long. It's $35. It is what it is. How this is going to work, the bar is going to go on the plate like that because this is flat. There is one angle. See, there is one angle where the bar is flat. We're going to mark a center line. We're going to drill a couple holes. And then there's going to be a piece of aluminum plate. This is 3/4 inch. This is going to get bolted there in the middle. And then we have to mill an angle, the right angle. And then I'm going to make, I don't know what you want to call this. This is going to be like an arbor or something like that. And this is going to go up inside the tube. This is an inch tube. It holds on a 7/8 inch. It's not a steer tube. It's the tube that goes inside the steer tube. I don't know what you call that. So that's going to be held on there at the right angle. There's going to be a cap on the top. And I'm going to take some aluminum. It's going to get cut maybe an inch long, make a threaded hole in it. One will go there and one will go there because that's what holds it up at the right space. And then something has to hold this down. So an easy way of doing this, I've got some alloy V blocks here. I'll just put them on like that and use a couple C-clamps. If I was making something, and I'm going to make 500 handlebars, that'll never happen now. I would make something which is more permanent. So, why don't we start off? Let's mark the middle. Let's make 2 holes. I'm going to do the holes in the mill so that when I move the table, those holes are perpendicular. They're absolutely perpendicular because this has to be at a right angle. It can't be a little bit either way because otherwise it's going to throw this off. Let's do something else. Let's go over to the surface table now because we don't know if these bars are bent. If I make a fixture that fits onto a crooked handlebar, that means that the bars I'm making are also going to be that same amount of crookedness as well. It's no good. We'll go to the surface table and have a look. I've got a way to make a quick check. I've got a little insert here. Look, it just happens to fit in there. It's a little sloppy, but it doesn't matter. This is the cable hanger. Can you see how that's basically the same? Actually, it's a little bit lower. See that? So that's why I've got this. I'm going to put this under here. What I've done is I took a file, and it's not a perfect surface, but I scraped off the paint because we don't want the paint holding it at an angle. There we go. And you're going to move it down this way a little bit. Oops. Come on down. There we go. Because I want the end of the bars to be over the table. Okay. Got a big vernier here. It's just for comparison, really. So set that like that. Bring it over here. It's not perfect, but it's really good. If your bars are only out that, actually, well, there's a little tiny gap. I say that's good. Got my combination square. I bought this when I was 18 years old. I started working in a machine shop and I went next door. There was a tool supplier. It's Moore and Wright, which is English. So 18, my math. I've had this 51 years. That's showing my age, isn't it? It's amazing how fast time is going by. It's just amazing. Of course, I'm never bored. I'm always stuff to do, right? Lots of stuff to do. All right, we're going to go to the mill. Let's see what size of, let's figure out where to space the holes. So this is going to get, it's going to get machined, but it's going to stick out a bit too, right? Like maybe a 1/4 inch or so. And so I don't really want to put a space. This hole's kind of in the way. This is part of a jig. I had some water cutting done and then I never used them. So too bad that hole's there. Or I can find a longer piece. That's what I can do. I can do that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a hole about here and then maybe an inch away. That'll work. So if we go in 1/2 inch and then another inch, and then when I drill holes on this, I know that it's exactly an inch because I've spaced it on the mill. I'm using the DRO, the digital readout. A little faster. And then I move 1 inch. I wanted to show you the Allen screws I'm going to use. These are called countersunk Allen screws, and if you use a regular one, when it goes into the hole, there's a little bit of play, and it could sit one side or the other. I know we're only talking about a few thou, but when you use these, a countersunk Allen, it always seats right in the middle of the hole. So I'm trying to be really accurate here. That's the main goal. There we go. Okay. I'm going to put some spaces under here because it's hard. I can't put this in, so it's hard to visualize where I want that to be. Okay, that makes more sense now, like that. See, what I want to happen is I want the center line to come down to right there. So we could probably start by, let's go to the hacksaw and just cut this off here. Let's do that. All right, so we're going to go to the mill. We're going to face this just to make it clean. Then we're going to face the bottom, flip it up, find the center, and drill 2 holes. Well, actually make threaded holes. 6mm, 6x1 threads, and then this will bolt right onto that, and we'll have that part, and then this will be the third part in the equation. So I think it's going to work fine. So back to the mill. For here, on the side here, I'm using a face mill. It's a carbide insert face mill, and then I'm going to flip it on its side, and to get the end square, I'm going to use an end mill. The end mill is going to go along like that. So it's two different tools for two operations. I'm going to use the power. I'll start the tap and then I'll switch it off, and we'll finish with this. That's one way of doing it. So I start it. There we go. In case it went down too far too fast, did you notice I had my hand on the brake? I didn't use it, but I was ready. Okay, that's a lot of threading. All right, so we're going to go back to the bench after this and bolt this on. And we have to scribe an angle because we need to cut an angle on the other end. Everything fits really nice because it's so precise. I like that. Okay, so there's a stage in the fixture. This is perpendicular. So I think I still need the blocks here. Now I'm gonna clamp this down. Oh, look at that. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to hold it up with two fingers like that so that it's right on this surface here. It's a little tricky. And then I'm going to scribe a line. There we go. That's the angle we want. I have the piece of aluminum in the vise, and there's my red felt pen. So how do I know that's level? I've got some ground height gauges, and if I put them like that, well, I can't quite see it, so I'm going to move it up a little bit, and I can see that line. When I can see the line right over the top, I know I'm pretty darn good. Okay. I can take a little more off. There you go. I'm going to scribe some lines here, so when I use a red Sharpie, it's a lot easier to see where the lines are. So I need to find the halfway point. It's 3/8, no, 3/4. So if I go 3/8 on this, and even if I'm out a tiny little bit on this, when I mark it from both sides, I can see where the two lines are, and I go right in the middle of those two lines if they're not exactly the same. And as it turns out, it is on the same line. So now I'll just mark the center. There we go. That's my center. All right. I could back it out, but I don't know. I think I want to just use a tap. Okay, so that's about where it goes. And you notice how as I move the bars back and forth, this space is getting smaller. So what's going to happen is I make this piece, it screws onto that, it locates this, and then I can put these into position. So I have to think about this a little bit and see how long this is going to be, because it does make a difference. And it looks like it's about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, this is 7/8 of an inch, and this is obviously larger because it's, can you see there's a little bit of slop going on there? So I think I'm going to make this 7/8, this piece 7/8 of an inch. So we'll make these pieces and we'll make this at the same time on the lathe. Now we have to make this the same size as the ID of the clamp tube, 7/8. So do a little feed here. I'll make a mark where I can go up to, right about there. I've got some ready rod here. This is 6mm, and I'm going to screw it in, make it tight, and then I'll cut it off. And then this piece threads by hand over that. That's what we're doing. And this guy, there we go. See how that works? That goes like that. And then this is the cap. Allen screw goes in there as well. So let's see how this works. We have to get the height right. Okay, so that's seated there. Okay, see that? This has to be a little shorter. And then when that's shorter, this will sit on the plate. So how much shorter? Let's try 40 thou. Gonna take off the bottom there. If I was smart with physics and calculus and trigonometry, I could figure that out, but I'm a machinist, so let's go to the lathe. Come on. I took off 40 thou. We're going to go check now. It comes at a different angle. I was talking to Mitch, he said, just use a feeler gauge, but you can't because it's not, if it was straight up and down, you could use a feeler gauge, but it's not, it's at an angle. So how much you take off isn't coming down the same amount vertically, if that makes sense. So, see that? We got a little bit more to come off. We'll just do a little bit of time. I took 40 thou off there, so now we'll take off half that, 20. And we'll see how we're doing. Well, I like that. That works out really nicely. Look at that. I can feel it right on top. Oh, it fits. Okay. Okay, we're going to make those guys there. And then this fixture is basically done. So let's go back to the lathe. Do a little bit of machining. Oh, then we got to drill these. We have to drill these and chop these holes, and then we're good. What I'm doing here is I'm marking a line along. It's parallel with this edge. And then this bar is at an angle. So by moving this along the bar, I can locate it in my mind anyway, exactly where I want it. So let's just see how good this works, how well this works. So this goes back on like that. That's a good fit. See, I got the same space here. And you see how if I move that along, can you see how it goes in and out of being on the center? Can you see that? Then I put the hole right in the middle, right there. And I do the same thing over here. And then the fixture is basically done. There. So I take this off. We have to drill and tap those holes. And then we can assemble this and see what it looks like as a whole entity. Okay, we'll go and drill and tap. Assembly time. We're going to see how this all fits together. Put on the V blocks and the C-clamps. And if this is all good, then next episode we'll be making a BULLMOOSE bar. So hopefully this all fits really well. Oh, look at that. That fits pretty well. I've had a bit of experience making fixtures. I was in the bicycle business for a while. Actually, 15 years. That's more than a while. And I learned a lot about making fixtures. When I first started and I knew I had to build a frame jig, I went to the library and I thought, you know, that's because back in those days, 80s, we didn't have internet. And I looked for books on fixtures and frame building, and I looked in the dictionary, and a fixture was a person who had worked at a company for a very long time, and a jig was a dance. So the library was basically useless. Well, for me at that point anyway, so I had to figure it out. And when I had to make a jig, I'd always think, how did Tom do it, as in Tom Ritchie? So I learned from it. I'm just self-taught, basically. So there it is. I've got the tubing. I got the two different kinds of tubing. This is 7/8, 3/4. This is 035, 049, and I'm gonna make a couple pairs of bars. And this is the fixture. Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support. Mitch and I like coffees. If you buy us coffees, that helps the channel a lot. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.